Welcome back to the county seat. Our topic today is national monuments within the state of Utah, the impacts they have on counties, and some of the other options in land use and management that have come to the forefront in the last few years. Joining us for this panel discussion, Randy Johnson, former Emery County Commissioner and a consultant that worked on the Washington County Land Use Bill, Jeff Horrocks, who's a current commissioner from Emery County, and of course from the governor's office, the senior advisor on environment, Ted Wilson. Ted, thank you for joining us, and nice of you to come right off your camping trip.
Well, you know, I mean, I'm a city guy and I want to look like a county guy.
There you go. I appreciate it. Let's start the discussion for just a minute and talk about the San Rafael swell, because that was the last big push for a monument, and it actually, if my memory serves me correct, didn't it actually start generating internally within the local government and the local community as a way to settle the issue of wilderness study areas and that sort of land use planning? Is that how that started?
Well, yeah, technically, yes. It came from the county, but it was an outcropping of a very long planning process. Emery County started in late 1994, early 95, when they were a pilot project with, or a pilot county with Project 2000, the Coalition for Utah's Future. And we got some planning money and state support, and we decided we needed to plan something for all those public lands as well, and created a Public Lands Council and went through a very extensive stakeholder planning process regarding the San Rafael swell. And the outcome of that was 2 tries at congressional legislation for a national conservation area, national heritage area in the San Rafael swell. It was a very good plan. It was very creative in terms of where we were on those issues at the time. And we failed both times in Congress, in '98 and again in 2000, to get that passed. We had heavy opposition. And so we just considered the idea, could we accomplish the same thing with a monument, you know, under the right circumstances? And our Public Lands Council considered that and decided to try to see if that was a possibility. That's how that all evolved to that position where Emery County was actually considering a monument.
A lot of people got pretty upset about it, if I remember correctly.
There was a lot of opposition to it in Emery County itself. In Washington, we had to support, if we could come up with a bill, that it would be passed and made law, if you will. But local people with misinformation at the time was not willing to go that route, and they voted it down in a local election.
They actually got enough signatures to have on a ballot the question, do you want a monument or don't you want a monument? And the vote was against having a monument. It was not technically binding on the president or the governor or really even on the commission, but given the temperature you know, of that feeling, we stopped pursuing that idea.
Let's talk about the pros and cons of a monument designation. You know, energy and mineral development people will see this as a con, tourism sees it as a pro, but maybe you'd like to start with your thoughts on that.
Well, you know, the Antiquities Act, which allows a president to just declare a monument, has worked. There have been some monuments declared in this country. It led to national parks, for example, Grand Teton. At the time Grand Teton was declared as a monument, there was an outrage in Jackson Hole. Cliff Hansen, who was then senator from Wyoming, called it akin to the Pearl Harbor raid, and it really upset people there. But I think there'd be few people today. In fact, Cliff Hansen asked years later, said he made a mistake in opposing it because Grand Teton has become such a rich tourist industry. But that may have been an accident. I mean, we could have gone the other way maybe and needed the development in the Teton Valley. So, you know, if you luck out, a monument can be great. I think they do increase tourism. They can become national parks. They can be an attractive part of the business. But I think the very idea of declaring a monument with a stroke of the pen in the White House is antiquated. I think it's in the modern age of more participatory democracy, of more concern on the land among county folks that need to make a living, and a state that needs money for the schools, and all of that, it is wrong to declare a monument by signature in this day and time. And I think we saw that under Bill Clinton. I think he was well-intended in many ways. He was also very political with it. It really caused an outcry in Utah, which has been very, very difficult to get around on the kind of land negotiations we ought to have with environmentalists, with county people, with people who drill for oil and gas, people who herd their cattle, whatever. It's really hurt that process. I'd have to ask my colleagues here whether they agree on that, but I think the very fact the president did that said this is outrageous, it came out of Washington, it was very political, and it's hurt us.
Okay, well, Jeff, let me ask you that question. From a sitting county commissioner, what looks better for the health and well-being of the people within your county?
Not a monument. We currently are involved in a public land use process that involves all of our local people. We've actually more or less forced some people to the table to discuss land use issues in Emery County. As you know, the majority of Emery County is public land. And to declare any of it a monument would distract from mineral extraction, from some recreational, from the grazers being able to go out and graze on it. The people in Emery County have been stewards of that land for many, many, many years, and they've done a good job of taking care of it. But we're in an atmosphere now, in politically and just in the country, to protect what needs to be protected. We have brought to the table the environmental groups, the recreators, the grazers, the mineral people, everybody that we could get to the table. And we just received from the Public Lands Council to the Commission their recommendations on the Public Land Use Bill. That land use bill is not a wilderness bill. It is a public land use bill that does have wilderness in it. And we believe that's the best route to go, and to just avert or bypass a monument altogether. There's several layers of protection you can put on land and still have historical use. And that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, I think that's an excellent point, and I would like to actually discuss that in the next block because we're coming up against a commercial break. One of the things that keeps coming up is tourism jobs versus industry jobs, and so I would like to think about that or make that part of this discussion to see if that really is a mix or if there's even any purpose for monuments anymore with these kinds of land use models. It would seem to me there are probably still some areas where a monument by the more pure definition of what they were talking about is still a possibility, but typically they were very small. And after Grand Staircase, they became very big. So I think those are things that we will discuss here on the county seat. We'll be back right after a commercial break. We'll continue our discussion on monuments with our panel. Stay with us.
So, what brings you to town?
What brings anyone to St. George? A couple rounds of golf, a little relaxation.
What is that all?
Is there more? In a retirement community? Should have stuck with the back nine.
The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration. SITLA manages 3.5 million acres of Utah lands with the express purpose of furthering the education of Utah students while promoting local industry, oil and gas, even residential development, all at the same time. Through the careful use of trust lands, we distributed more than $22 million to Utah schools last year. The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, building the state's permanent school fund.
How would you spend an extra day in Utah Valley? Stay one more day. Visit utahvalley.com to make reservations. Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
What are the words that describe the perfect destination? Finding them all in one place is easy if you know where to look.
Having fun cruising in the sun, August 4th through the 6th at the Millard County Fair. Contests, rock crawling, outdoor movies, improv, and a tractor pull. We look forward to seeing you there.
Pick your adventure in Millard County, Utah.